Well, hello YouTube, it's Thomas34. Let me adjust the camera. I just wanted to make kind of like a pre-birthday, weather discussion video. It's been a long time since I've gotten to one, and it's Sunday evening, just before the weekend's over. I figured, hey, why not? Let me make a quickie. And so I'm going to do it. There's not much to talk about in the weather department. And my videos, have been pretty random. You see the last one I did was probably, way back last year in like the summer when we had those heat waves. Now we're in the middle of winter, so it's pretty crazy, but, nonetheless, here I am. So today's March 3rd, it's 2013, and the current weather conditions, it's about 30 to 35 degrees outside. Humidity is moderate, and we do have those generally partly cloudy skies outside. No disturbance is pushing through today, and tomorrow on in store for a really nice weather day, and things do look on the upside here tomorrow night and during the day on Tuesday. Now, we do have a storm system to track on Wednesday, and that will be featuring a little bit of a mixture of rain, sleet, and snow, and it's still pretty uncertain. All the models that they have running on this particular storm system, a lot of them take a very similar path until it gets off the Delmarva coast or off the Virginia coast. That's when they all separate, and that's pretty typical. They all tend to agree to a certain point, and then they vary greatly. And the models have been pretty consistent, though, in bringing the storm system from the Midwestern states, continuing its journey and track to the east, somewhere on the Atlantic Ocean, somewhere bringing it off the coast of, we'll say, between North Carolina and the Delmarva area of Delaware. So somewhere over there, we're going to have that low pressure system cross into the Atlantic Ocean. And normally, they tend to go northeast and track into New England. But since there is a high pressure system, which is situated in southeastern Canada, we are not talking about that low pressure system making a move up along that path here. Instead, it will just go cross the off the Carolina coast, and it will continue its journey out to sea, because again, there's that high pressure off in southeast Canada. So even if the system wanted to, it really couldn't move up into the New England region, which would mean no impacts really from this storm if you're living in Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. However, the uncertainty diminishes once you head south of there. If you live in Long Island, if you live in New Jersey, Garden State Parkway, Interstate 95, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Atlantic City, New Jersey, some major metropolitan areas could be in for this. And this is already March 3rd. And we're talking about this storm arriving on Wednesday, and that's 3 days from now. And we're already in the first week of March, and it's pretty unusual to be talking about snow, and the potential of it. And, Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. has picked up just about or just over 2 inches of snow for the entire 2013 year. The entire year, whereas places up into New York City have picked up well over 2 feet of snow this year. But now, this next and latest snowstorm looks to be favoring more of a mid-Atlantic scenario, and potentially bringing places like Philadelphia and Washington, D.C., the snowiest, storm that they've seen, or the most snow that they've seen in all of the season so far, because again, only about 2.5 inches of snow has fallen in Washington, D.C. during the 2012 and 2013 winter season, and it's over in about 2 weeks. So, now would be the time, because after this storm, after this, once you get into the second week of March, it becomes really difficult, especially when you get down into the Mid-Atlantic region, to have any type of storms. Now, there will be a little bit of a mixture going on if you live along the immediate coast, but as long as about 100 miles or so inland or west of the beaches here in along the Mid-Atlantic region, you should be able to pick up some snowfall from this. And even if the models could still change, they could favor maybe a little bit of a more southerly track, and that would bring places like North Carolina in jeopardy as well into the mix here. But I really don't think that Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and certainly Maine, New Hampshire, or Vermont will be on deck here for this storm, as we are just simply too far away from the center of the system here. And the track is not looking good for you snow lovers up in that neck of the woods. And of course, because this weather discussion is for southern New England, what are the potential impacts for us here in Rhode Island, Connecticut, lower, New York area, including New York City, the Bronx, Staten Island, of course, Long Branch, New Jersey, Levittown, Long Island, Montauk, Long Island, we're all doing this video here for you. So I will kind of highlight the forecast for you for places like Montauk, Levittown, Hempstead, and out west continuing into New York City and even west of there, including places like Madison, New Jersey, Perth Amboy, New Jersey. You guys will be seeing. That we will have a little impact in terms of precipitation. Maybe some flurries will be reaching you, but I think anywhere north of, the shoreline of Connecticut, you won't be seeing much. So basically, anywhere south of Hartford, I would use that kind of as a demarcation line. Expect 0 inches of snow, no accumulation whatsoever, other than a flurry, a sprinkle or two. Don't expect any type of accumulations north of Hartford. South of Hartford, that could be a little bit of a different story. We're talking, especially, places away from the shoreline there. So initially, that wouldn't really include Long Island. If you were to happen to get precipitation, yes, it would probably be in the form of snow, but we are generally thinking here that places away from the shoreline, about 50 to 75 miles worth, will probably be cold enough to see that wintry precipitation, whereas if you're close to the shoreline, you'll probably be seeing just rain or frozen stuff. But we're thinking that, it's going to be mainly rain for Long Island, even if you do get affected by it. But places like Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, you're pretty far inland here, so even though you're not high in elevation, you could still end up seeing some activity, depending on how heavy the precipitation is. I know this is going to sound weird, but depending this time of year especially, depending on how heavy the precipitation is and is falling, will ultimately determine what type of precipitation you see, because places like Philadelphia, temperatures will be marginal to the entire event, middle to upper 30s for daytime highs. But what happens is initially the moisture falls, and as that moisture falls, what happens is what's called evaporation or cooling, and that initially cools the atmosphere down to a point where it could be raining. But if it's raining hard enough and precipitating hard enough, some of that precipitation could dense up or freeze up, maybe fall as sleet, freezing rain, the like. Alright, so you could get some of that. I wouldn't be surprised if we had at least some winter weather advisories for the Philadelphia metropolitan area. New York City, maybe. Alright, we'll include you maybe in a potential for winter weather advisory. That's all, of course, up to the National Weather Service and their respective offices. But from what I'm seeing, it's Sunday, storms on Wednesday, no significant impacts for places north of New York City, and by impacts I just mean precipitation in general. South of New York City, you'll probably get some rain and or snow, again, depending on elevation, depending on how far away you live from the shoreline, will determine what you get. So I'm not going to sit here and give everybody a accumulation idea here, because we're really talking about varying amounts, whereas places more inland in general have a better chance of seeing snow, and places close to the shoreline have a better chance of just seeing plain rain. Beyond that, we have a warm-up, folks. A warm-up that will only last a couple of days, but it's just a March thaw, kind of like a spring teaser, and these are pretty typical. We've already had a few where temperatures kind of surged up into the upper 40s to around 50. By the way, average high up in southern Connecticut is about 45 degrees for this time of the year. So if we're at 48, 49, that's above average. And if we're talking about low 50s, then we're really getting treated to some mild conditions. And that's really what we're forecasting here by Friday of next week, heading into the second week end of March. We are seeing some pretty nice weather conditions. And that, by the way, has been your forecast weather discussion. Again, briefly outlining the potential here for snow, and it could, who knows, it could be pretty significant, or it could turn out to be not too significant, but of course we'll keep you updated on that. I always say that, and I never make an update, but I will try.